those that are rebellious to the law. Chapter 4. A rebellious elder who differ with the Supreme Sanhedrin concerning a matter whose willful violation is punishable by charis, and whose inadvertent violation requires a sin offering is liable for execution. We're talking about an elder who was a great scholar. And remember that the Supreme Sanhedrin actually ties with the Talmud course. It's interesting how everything ties in with what we're doing in one class with another class. It's unreal. L'chaim, l'chaim. And actually, give me a second. I'll go move my feet. Just realized. Boy, my bucket list. Okay. So because he's going against remember the Sanhedrin kept a unified Jewish people, right? You follow only one path. Because any issue, it was disputed in the Sanhedrin, either everybody was on board or they would go according to the majority, which, well, we didn't learn it today in Chumash, but we'll learn, I think maybe tomorrow, might be in the Parsha, might be tomorrow, right? They go after the majority. Today we learned that you don't go after the majority for bad. In other words, to kill, right? That's how the sages learned out, if you recall. We learned three interpretations Rashi gave on that verse. It was very difficult, right? The sages of Israel, as he called them, the Onkelos and his own. Any case, oops. But what's clear is that there was always, a way to find something unifying amongst the Jewish people. And that's what the Sanhedrin was responsible for. And now comes an elder, a sage, and he's rebelling that he is differing and teaching that and telling people, this is what you got to do instead of what the Sanhedrin. Well, that person is liable for execution. This applies whether the court forbids the matter or he permits it, or the court permits the matter and he forbids it. Like he's being more religious and he's making it forbidden, right? The court said this coffee's okay. And he forbids it. He's more religious, but so I can't just drink, according to him, I can't drink the coffee. Okay, so what's a big deal? What's a big deal? Because you're going against the law of the Sanhedrin, which God mandated the Sanhedrin in the Torah, right? That they have the sole right. But it might be in Parsha Shref. It might not be. It might be in Deuteronomy only that we learn that law of. I think it's there. Even if he bases his statement on the received tradition, saying that this is the tradition I received from my masters, and they say that this is what appears to us to be appropriate on the basis of logical analysis, since he differs from their ruling and performs a deed or directs others to do so, he is liable. So he even says, but this is what I got from my teachers, and my teachers got it from their teachers. Once a Sanhedrin deals with it, or you can't go against it. In other words, you can't go against it and tell others that this is how you have to lead yourself. This is what appears to be, right. Needless to say, this applies if they also rule on the basis of having received teaching through the oral Torah. Similarly, he is liable for execution if he differs. But This is not about an ignorant person doing this, by the way, Not this is not an ignoramus. Because no one's following an ignoramus, he says. Or we're not talking about someone who's a non-believer. This person's a believer, but he's just in the belief, but he's going against the Sanhedrin, right? And he's a very learned person. So the ignoramus. No one's listening to an ignoramus telling and giving you what the law is. The person's ignorant, but this guy is an elder. He's a sage. So no. So in the life of execution be different than with regard to the decree that was issued to safeguard prohibition. This is legislation, right? This is rabbinic law now. It's not even biblical. Not even the sages and the way they are deriving or they've received the tradition at Sinai, which that's biblical law. This is rabbinic law that they did to safeguard. So, the rabbi said, like muktzah, you're not allowed to touch the pencil on Shabbos, even though biblically you could touch a pencil, you just can't write with it. But you could touch it. Came the rabbis and said, no, it's muktzah. Muktzah, you can't touch it. And you can't touch it if it's just for the sake of holding it, right? Different laws that apply for it. If you need to place or to move it or something, it's a different story. But anyways, whatever. So that's only rabbinic, to safeguard. Those of willful violation are punishable by cars and the inadvertent violation of requiring a sin offering. For example, if he permits the consumption of leaven on the 14th of Nisan during the 6th hour, or forbids deriving benefit on the 5th hour, he is worthy of execution. Similar laws apply in analogous situations. 6th hour, the rabbis came and said on the eve of Pesach, right? Don't eat chametz. Biblically, you could. Biblically, you can't eat from the what's biblical? I think the 7th hour. Yeah, from the 7th hour. Rabbinically, it's from the 6th hour. And he permits the 6th hour. So he is liable for execution. Pretty heavy. Number 2. The above applies whether the rebellious elder disputes a matter or whose willful violation is punishable by coercive, so inadvertent violation requires a sin offering, or he disputes a matter that leads to a situation involving prohibition whose willful violation is punishable by coercive, or an inadvertent violation is a sin offering. So whether it's willful, inadvertent, right? What is implied? It means if they disputed whether relations with a woman are adulterous or incestuous, if a shade of blood would render a woman ritually impure or not, or if a woman is impure because of birth or not, if the woman is a zava or not, if the fat is forbidden or permitted and the like, their difference of opinion involves prohibition, it's willful violation upon a cars, and whose inadvertent violation requires a sin or offering. So, yeah, such a law, for example. What is meant by matters of a lead to the prohibition whose willful violation punishable by cars as inadvertent violation of the sin offering. For example, the sages offered concerning a declaration of a leap year. If the leap year must be declared before Purim, or may be declared throughout other, he is liable. For this leads the partaking of chametz on Pesach. Right, so he is challenging the rabbinic authority when it comes to adding a leap year. So then when Pesach will be, and then someone might eat chametz, mistakenly. Similarly, if he differ with regard to matter of financial law or with regard to the number of judges able to adjudicate matters of financial law, he is liable. For according to the opinion which maintains that the defendant is liable to the plaintiff, everything that which is expropriated from him was expropriated according to the law and according to the decision of court, but according to the opposing view, whatever was expropriated is stolen property. If he uses to consecrate a woman, she is not consecrated. And yet, according to the opinion, the person expropriated is the property, the consecration is valid. If another person engages in relations with her willfully in the liable cause and engages in relations with her inadvertently is liable for the sin offering. Thus, their difference of opinion led to a matter of willful violations punishable by cars, and inadvertent violation requires the sin offering. So what he's saying now is that because he differs, this Zakim Mamre, this sage, right? And because of it may lead only to that, for example, if it was only a law of damages, right, of a law of financial, right? So if because of financial, you took out money from someone that shouldn't have been taking money from, that's called theft then, right? And therefore, if that guy went with that money and consecrated a woman, she's not consecrated because you're not allowed to. You can't consecrate a woman to marry her with something that doesn't belong to you. Has to belong to you, but you got this thing expropriated not according to proper law because this elder sage, went against the sages and said that in this law that you can you are the wrong side won the court case based on his ruling against the sages. So now he took that item that was expropriated, which is now called theft, and he married a woman, and he's living with her. He can't live with her. He's not married to her, right? Because he married her with something that is by law stolen. Now, he didn't mean to, but the point over here is that this elder sage this is what he caused. It wasn't direct, it was indirect, but he caused this or could possibly cause it, and therefore he's liable. Similarly, if the difference of opinion concerned lashes, so just giving different examples of where it may lead to something. If one person was liable to receive lashes or not, and they differ with regard to the number of judges in whose presence lashes must be administered, he's liable. For according to the opinion who says that he should not be lashed, the court is injuring him, and the judges are liable to make financial restitution. So if this elder judge is now going against the sages, and he's giving lashes to a person who shouldn't get lashes. So first of all, the court, the judges have to make financial restitution when they are the ones responsible. We just learned this, right? They have to make financial restitution when they are responsible for making wrong judgment. But according to the opinion which says the liable of lashes, everything is expropriated from the stolen property. If he uses to consecrate a woman, she is not consecrated. Well, similar idea, expropriating. Similarly, if they differ regard whether or not the person is obligated to pay after making an endowment, evaluation, or interdirected property is liable. According to the opinion, it says he's not liable to pay if it is taken from him, is stolen property, and it is used to consecrate a woman, the consecration is not valid. Second. Okay. Let's say you now consecrated something to the altar or to the temple, right? To the base of Mikdash. And this Zakim Mamre, I'm not clear on how that works. Similarly, his liability differed with the majority concerning the redemption of the consecrated property, had he been redeemed or not. For according to the opinion, the redemption is invalid. If you use the article of consecration. So the point over here, and each time he's making that the thing is he's going against the sages, where the sages say it's something is consecrated or holy, and he says it's not, and therefore the person used it to consecrate a woman. He's not married to her because it's not his. It's a similar idea, just different scenarios of where using something to marry a woman when it's not yours, whether it's stolen because it was taken away in improper judgment, whether it was consecrated and you said it wasn't consecrated, this elder sage, right, went against the sages, and therefore you now used it to consecrate a woman, but it's not yours because it belongs to the temple. All of these, right, similar ideas. Similarly, if you differ with regard to bringing Agla Rufa is when someone was killed, murdered rather, and we don't know who the murderer is outside of the city, right? Whether the city is obligated to bring it or not, he is liable. Right? Those who say the city obligated to bring the calf, it is forbidden to derive benefit from it to use the if you use it to consecrate a woman, the consecration is not valid. So here I'm not saying, I guess he's using the calf that should be used by the city closest to bring as a offering for the one who was murdered, and he says no, not to use it. No, okay, I could clear this how that works, and he then offered that to consecrate a woman. The similar concept applied with regard to lekit, shichon peya, the difference whether it belongs to the poor, the owner is liable. So the same idea is, for that which you have to give to the poor, the corners of the field and all that. And he says, no, that belongs to you when it doesn't, it belongs to the poor. And now you consecrated a woman with it. Again, same problem as you married a woman, and you're not really married to her. According to the opinion, it says it belongs to the owner, it's some property in the hands of the poor and the consecrated women, with it is not consecrated. Similarly, whoa. If a rebellious elder, difference with regard to category factors that impart ritual impurity, blemishes on the skin, tsaras, right? Blemishes on the homes, or blemishes on the garments, he's liable. According to the opinion, the person is pure, he's permitted to enter the temple. So if he says that you're pure and you're not really impure and you went into the temple, then you're going into the temple when you're impure, and then you're liable for kares. Partake consecrated food, according to when the opinion is impure. If he enters the temple, partakes of consecrated food willfully, is punishable by kares. If he does so inadvertently, is liable for a sin offering. According to concepts applied that differ with regard to the purification of a person, according to its veracity, can be purified or not. Similarly, he is liable. So again, all these different scenarios, if they differ with regard to the obligation to make the site to drink the water, which conveys the curse. Is a woman required to drink the water, or is she not required? For according to the person who says that she must drink, if her husband dies before she drinks, she's forbidden to her yavam. According to the person who says that she is not required to drink, She may perform the right yuvum. Similar to those applies to analogous situation. I'm not clear on that one. If it is necessary to investigate and examine whether difference of opinion will lead to these consequences, right? That's the point over here. If they will lead to other consequences, which after a series, even 100 consequences, will bring to about a situation involving a prohibition whose willful violation is punishable by kares, by early death, by the hands of heaven, right? If you did it willfully, and whose inadvertent violation requires a sin offering. Rebellious elder is liable. That's the whole point. This applies regardless of whether you've ruled inadvertently and the others ruled stringently or ruled stringently or ruled leniently. Okay, last halacha in this chapter. If the difference of opinion between the rebellious elder and the court will not lead to such a situation, right, where it could lead to early death if you did it willfully, or to bring a sacrifice, a sin offering, if you did it inadvertently. The rebellious son is not liable for execution unless a difference of opinion concerns tefillin. What is implied? If the rebellious elder gave a directive to add a fifth compartment to the tefillin, or he himself made tefillin with 5 compartments, then he's liable. This applies provided that he made 4 compartments as required by law and then made a fifth compartment and attached it to the outer compartment. But when an outer compartment is not exposed to the open space at that time, it's unacceptable. The obligation, the rebellious elder is in such a matter, is a law transmitted by the oral tradition. If, however, they differed with regard to other mitzvahs, he disputed with the laws concerning lulav, tzitzis, or shofar, one claiming it's unacceptable, and then the other claiming it's acceptable. One claiming that the person fulfilled the obligation, the other claiming he did not fulfill his obligation. Or one says he is pure, the other says he is impure. 2 degrees removed, the elder is not liable for executions if the law applies in analogous situations. So he's not allowed to act that way, but he's not liable for execution. By the way, and that's also with only witnesses, and as we've learned in the past.